Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what drives them forwards. And today I'm really delighted to have with us Wieke Eringa, Chief Executive and Artistic Director of Yorkshire Dance. So Wieke, welcome. And if you'd like just to start by introducing yourself and Yorkshire Dance and what you do, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, hi Chris, it's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So I'm Wieke Eringa. I'm the I've been at the helm at Yorkshire Dance for nearly 15 years, 14 and a half, and we're kind of medium-sized charity dance organisation. We've got a building and a centre of Leeds, but we work across the whole region. And we basically do three things. We support local talent, independent artists to realise their project ideas. We work in communities, especially in communities that really have no access to dance and that face a lot of barriers and marginalisation. And then we work across the region to support the infrastructure for dance and dance development as our resources allow. And really, we want to work through dance to bring happiness, health, connection, and change. So that's our mission statement. And you might know, of course, people understand dance to have a lot of things to do with maybe hip hop or urban dance forms, Strictly Come Dancing. We all know about the Nutcracker and about the ballet. But what we really want to tell the stories of people in the here and now. So dance forms that respond well to the here and now and to the situation that we live in. So we want to let dance speak to the critical issues of our time, really. So we're probably not so much on the commercial side of things, but more on the side of personal expression and community building.
Wonderful. That's fascinating. Hopefully we can explore that a little bit more. But if we could start maybe just a little bit about your background, how you got it, how you got into the organisation, and why Yorkshire Dance for you.
Hang on a minute. Somebody is trying to zoom me out of my Zoom account. So I just got a message saying you're being chucked out of your Zoom account, but I'm still here. I'm so sorry. Could you just tell me that? Ask me that question again.
I definitely can. So I think it would be great just to know a little bit more about you and your background, and perhaps how you why Yorkshire Dance.
Yeah, sure. So I trained actually quite late. I fell in love with dance really late, as I'm not one of those ballet girls. Mostly because as a child I didn't really get the whole kind of pink and hyper feminized thing that was around dance.
Yep.
And I fell in love with contemporary dance at a much older age. I studied music and dance at school. I went to London Contemporary Dance School to my amazement, and then worked for a couple of years in commercial dance, and then found that extremely boring and started teaching, and then sort of slid into arts management. And I came up north to work for Northern Ballet as the director for learning and access, which was great because it's a big department, it's a fantastic company. And ultimately what people at Northern Ballet really care about is ballet. And what I really loved about starting to work for Yorkshire Dance is that I really care about self-expression and about community and about, I guess, social justice, perhaps. So telling marginalized stories and diversifying who gets heard, who gets seen, who gets to be sexy and beautiful and visible. So that's in a nutshell really my background into dance sector.
Wow, so fantastic. I love that idea. You say that the marginalization and just all aspects of dance is so different. I guess if I'm honest, there are only one or two types of dance that I would immediately think about, and there is. I'm totally aware there's so many different types. So over the last sort of, I think 15 years you said with Yorkshire Dance, what are some of the biggest issues you've had to overcome?
Yeah, so kind of from a business point of view, certainly one of the most challenging moments at the start, because I don't think it would be unfair to say that the organisation was in the doldrums. It had lost its way. Leadership had left under a little bit of a dark cloud, and and there wasn't an awful lot of stuff clear about why we were there and what the expectations of the organizations were and what the stakeholders valued about it, etc. And I think one of the hardest things was stepping into a lot of historical expectations because our main stakeholder, Arts Council England, had been supporting the organization already for 25 years.
Yep.
There was a whole bunch of unanswered questions that I had to start solving. And it's one of those where you think, what shall I do first? And I guess in hindsight, I think maybe, you think, yeah, don't try and do it all at once because so much had to change. But I was really lucky to recognize the issue and get some additional support to do a strategic review. So buy in some external expertise to really have a chance to talk to stakeholders and to everybody, like, what's this organization really here for, and what are its strengths, and what's its future potential, and how could it be re-envisaged, and learning that some of those really difficult choices, sometimes you can't make them by yourself. You need to buy in or work with that external expertise to bring the capacity and the vision to take yourself through a program like that. So that really helped. And another real challenge is that at one stage we were embroiled in a legal situation, right. And it certainly showed me a different side of let's say the justice system in this country, and just the importance of a board of trustees, a board of directors, and having the right kind of expertise in that board who really understand the business and the legal expertise. And certainly would anybody listening to this consider to serve on a trustee because it's really worthwhile work, I think, to act as a trustee for a charity. And clearly there's a lot of really fantastic legal sector here in the city, but yeah, in hindsight, wish we'd had some better advice, which we do now, and we're thriving, so that's good.
Brilliant. I can imagine those two things, both bringing the organization out of the doldrums and giving it a vision and direction, and then dealing with that situation. You must have had to really draw on your own leadership skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And would not have managed it for a second if it hadn't been for the team of people around me. Brilliant. So I think it's that thing as well, isn't it? Like immediately, if I think about one particular low moment, and I think it was actually Christmas Eve about 8 years ago, where you're thinking, okay, are we going to get insolvency advice now, and are we going to wrap it all up or not? One of those where, my first image that comes up is the woman standing next to me, who was our exec director or admin director at the time. And so it's that feeling of investing, that leadership is about the team and the people around you. And also there's something nice about once you've hit the ground, rock bottom a few times, you also you just think, yeah, we'll weather this storm as well. We'll get through this. It's the very first time it happens, you really you can't see the wood for the trees. But yeah, it's being able to build an anchor. Oh yes, this stuff happens. It's a roller coaster. We're at the bottom bit. We'll go up again.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorites sayings, we're going to come on to sayings later on, but is a Japanese proverb. I think it's Japanese, but it basically says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And that's it. Life, business, everything is not a steady state. It is very much ups and downs, and I think it's just getting on with it. In fact, I remember as the CEO of Action Coach, my organization, telling me many years ago, and he said, Chris, the job of a business owner is to solve problems. So if you don't like problems, get out of leadership, get out of it comes to the territory. But that doesn't make it any easier when we're going through it, let's be frank.
No, but what makes it easier is the people around you, and the people that believe in your vision, and a reminder that you then also really do have to believe in your own vision. Be clear about it. And so but have just I've obviously done some thinking about leadership, and there is all these different models of leadership and leadership happening at different levels, as you know, but we're very much used to the one person at the front, possibly with a big ego, but it's actually all the people around them that make it happen. And Yeah, and I guess sometimes I have to be reminded to be more explicit about like to stand up and do those presentations and to say, yes, this is the thing and this is where we're going and this is why it matters. Yeah.
I think, I mean, I'd suggest, having spoken to many people, I and studied quite a few, I mean, most successful leaders aren't the stereotypical egotistical egotists. They are humble, that, you know, they're just passionate about what they do, and they know, as you've already said, you've said twice, which is a great sign of a great leader, it's about a great team. It's you know, great leaders lead and inspire people to follow them. It's not about you know, telling people what to do. It's about inspiring a desire to follow people, and it's yeah, no, it's
follow them and have a chance to develop their own leadership, right?
Yep, absolutely.
At all the different levels, so a chance to really and of course I'm lucky because I work in a sector where people are really highly self-motivated.
Yep.
They don't primarily come to earn money.
Yep.
Well, certainly don't, because our wages are rubbish. They are very highly motivated by the thing that we all care about.
Yes.
Having said that, what's quite interesting is that in one team we have people that are really motivated by social justice and social engagement and personal growth. That say other people are more motivated really about art and art making, and some, you know, do have to the facilities people, for example. Some people really need to be on the money and the customer services. So you still are trying to combine really different drivers within a team. And I always think it's funny when you talk about the my favorite arts organization, this Sculpture Park. Their senior leadership team have people that deal with millions of pounds worth of artwork, and others that deal with sheep. And you know, and so the challenge is to keep people understanding that their bit doesn't drift away from the other bits, but that other bit makes it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's yes, I like that. I like that. Yeah, example. Yeah, art and sheep. Yes, it just not many places that goes together that well, I would think. But
yeah.
So what are some of the things, you know, the biggest things you've learned over your career?
Oh my goodness! Don't take anything personally.
Great one.
That's a daily lesson, by the way. I still haven't quite. I wish I was further along the lines with that. Yeah, I think. Maybe this is particular to the situation of running a charity, but the importance of the board of directors and being able to really stand in your own shoes. And is that the right way of saying? I am Dutch, by the way, so I've probably used the wrong metaphor there, but also being prepared to stand up for your own belief in the face of challenge, whilst still really inviting that challenge and critical friends. I do want, again, that our board of directors absolutely need to challenge. That's what they're there for. But fundamentally, they need to buy into it. And if they don't buy into it, they need to go somewhere else.
Yes. That's
definitely learning. I think I've probably spent a little bit too long trying to please other people. Yeah, and what I have to learn a lot of the time, again, is investing the time in people and not making assumptions. Had to do a lot of learning around anti-racism and my white privilege over the last few years, and you know, about privilege in general. So there's so much to learn and to discover all the time in this business. Yeah,
always be learning. I guess that's it's certainly a mantra that we have.
Yeah.
So and sort of alongside learning, who or what might have been some of the biggest influences for you over your career?
Yeah, I thought of that question and I thought, gosh, you know, when everybody says, "Oh, who's your hero? Who inspires you?" I think actually, because I've been doing this for a while now, I think it's really my peers that really help me. So I mean, I could say, you know, Maya Angelou as a writer, or Nelson Mandela as a leader, or for sure, not the most original things to say either. What really inspires me and helps me to carry on is really other visionary peers that, you know, people that you probably won't hear about if I mention them, that run So and that made me reflect back on my style of leadership again, and how important it is for me to be in that network of people grappling with similar questions and similar dilemmas, and be able to share those things openly. And there is protectionism, there is competition, of course, even in the charitable sector, and certainly in the dance sector. So trying to find people that are willing to share those with generosity, and then also myself trying to share those things with authenticity and generosity, allows other people to do the same.
Yeah,
those that want to. So I think I'm utterly inspired by certain people who have their own authenticity and bring their passion to that work that we're trying to do, because you know, we all have bodies. You have a body, I have a body. What we do before we probably even talk is we dance, we move to music, and yet we live in a society which is totally you know, values people's intellect and use of their brains and their fingers on a keyboard over their bodies. So we value people doing intellectual job and managerial jobs through money and through careers and stability, and we really undervalue the knowledge and the embodied knowledge that we have with us. I mean, Ken Robinson's done a fantastic, I think it's the most watched TED Talk ever. It is the brilliant TED Talk. And he talks about how we're basically, our entire educational system is based on training the top layer of academia, and we treat our bodies and we treat bodies in education as something that walks us from one meeting to another meeting. So if you're thinking about, and then all the research that we now know about how quickly we make judgments about each other from within seconds of meeting each other, you know, all of that is about embodiment and embodied knowledge. So I fundamentally think that understanding the body and using the body and movement in our society has a huge potential to create happiness, health, connection, and change. And it is the answer to a whole lot of big, including obviously the problem that we have with physical activity, and you know, it's widely understood by the health sector that across all the major cost centers in the National Health Centre, that physical activity is the one biggest buy, because if you get people to move more, every single other thing is affected, from cardio disease to lung disease to obesity to everything. So and never mind mental health. So I just think I'm ranting on a little bit about dancing and physical activity, but I really think that in the crisis that we're in the moment, with our country unraveling, you know, that I could spout on, for example, one of the things that we changed at Yorkshire Dance is we were quite happy for artists to develop their work and for us to do all that community work. And then kind of Trump got elected and Brexit happened. And I think a more stark awakening call that we're all in our little bubbles and nobody's actually talking to each other anymore. So, and social media, as we know, has made that worse. So what happens when you're in a space together with dancing with somebody that is really different, you know?
Yes.
Maybe they're from a different faith or religion, maybe they're trans and you're not, or they're genderqueer, or maybe they're really, really poor, or they're really, really rich, or whatever. So that if you bring those people together and you move in a space, something truly magical can happen around understanding each other. And we've got a European project at the moment called dancing in it's about dancing in each other's shoes. So what can I find out from Chris through a chat is very, very different from what I can find out from Chris if we spend an hour moving together.
Yes.
Our board do a movement session at the beginning of away days, and team staff away day next week, and we will spend the first hour moving. And we have a disabled person on the team. We have older people on the team. There are some people that are, you know, really not that mobile, and we will all do that in a really inclusive way. And so I've gone completely off the topic. I'm so sorry. I'm just ranting on about dance now.
Please, it's wonderful. I think it's great. I'd not thought about many of the things you've just said, and it's fascinating because I can see what you've just said about how movement and, you know, movement and dance, it does break barriers down, doesn't it? It breaks stereotypes. There's a phrase that we use quite a lot when we're helping people change, which is pattern interrupts, and a pattern being how we normally behave or act. And to interrupt it, you need to do something different that actually, in effect, confuses the mind. So I can just see how having a traditional meeting, whatever it would be for, if it was while we were dancing, it would be a totally different context, because it would be very difficult to be, let's say it would be someone was in a stern situation for whatever reason. It's very difficult to do that when you're moving around.
And absolutely. And we were working with Common Purpose a long time ago, the leadership program, and offered that people came to Yorkshire Dance to have a session, and we offered people a dance session beforehand, and then we discussed how different it feels to have first moved together in space and then communicate with each other.
Yes,
because a lot of the stuff you carry with you, including the tension or your insecurities, your fears, the things that you want, that you're bitten into, that you can't let go of, you were just talking about, a lot of that falls away. And it's about just shifting your perspective, which is what a lot of problem solving is about, isn't it? It's just about diversifying the thinking. And it kills me to see what we're doing to our children. I do have a child, and if you're thinking about what's valued in the learning process, is an incredibly narrow vision of what we could be as people. And I think that if we want to be competitive on a global level, just to go back to our capitalist framing of success, then we need all that intelligence and all that creativity. And it's not the opposite. It is embedded in problem solving and being innovative, isn't it? Anyway, talk to them.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. This question sounds a little bit sort of what's the right word? Insignificant compared to what we've just talked about. But I mentioned earlier, I love picking up sayings and quotes from people that they've learned that they live by. Is there any sort of particular mantras or anything that you always fall back on in difficult or other times?
Well, I was thinking about a dance artist who's probably one of the most famous contemporary makers or artists of the mother of certainly contemporary dance in the West, Martha Graham. And she speaks about there's a beautiful quote where she says there's a vitality, a life force, a quickening that's translated through you in action. And because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. And that's quite long, but now's the good bit. And the world will not have it. So it is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how it compares with other expression. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, and to keep the channel open. Now, that's a very, very long quote, not one that you can easily quote, but it's about your self-judgment, and you're keeping yourself small. And who are you to say that what it is that you have to offer isn't what's needed? And if you start blocking yourself, then the world will never see what it is that you have to offer. And so, I mean, we're doing quite a lot of work at the moment about how people can be whole at work and don't have to leave part of themselves by the door, which, of course, in the discussion about belonging, but more explicitly around equality and diversity, is a really big experience from marginalized people, is that they do have to leave themselves at the door. And so I think those things are really interwoven, and I think that's really beautiful. The other thing that helps me is that thing, especially because I have won't say the next, but anyway, the other thing that really helps me is this thing about what you practice every day. So think of elite athletes, ballerinas, or Olympians. Winter Olympics have started today. Practicing. But what we practice every day, and I mean also, like, do I practice having a glass of wine every night? Or do I practice a bit of, like, I don't know, mindfulness? Do I practice yelling at my daughter a lot? Or do I practice trying not to do that? So it's that thing about, in whether it's at work or at home, what is it that I want to be doing all the time? What kind of groove do I want to end up into? Is it bitterness and accusing other people? So it's about taking responsibility, actually, a little bit. Yeah, I like that one.
I like that. Yeah, I like that too. I think your first point for me is we use the word a lot of authenticity, just being authentic, being who we are.
Yeah.
And and going back to your quote, it's very relevant. I think is that the most successful people. I don't mean financially. I just mean in life. Are the ones I think that are just true to themselves. That they, this is who I am. This is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do. And just get on and do it. I guess.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Easier said than done.
It is easy to say. Correct. I completely agree. It is often, but it is something that, as you say, you can practice and you can work on and use different techniques. But it's not easy. But I think a lot of things are simple, but not always easy. Which is what we often say. So, what would you say to about learning things? What have you learned about yourself over this last sort of 15, 20 years?
Oh my God. I think I've probably already mentioned quite a lot of things. Oh my goodness. I think I've probably a different question. I guess I think I've understood that I've wanted to be a self-reflective person, so I've taken myself off to meditation, to therapy, to be reflective, and I enjoy being with other self-reflective people. And I probably think I'm less confident than I thought, so I'm probably more able to undercut myself or undermine myself, and that's something that I can continue to reflect on. Yeah, and just that I think I bring quite a lot of energy and joy to a collaborative process. So that's sort of the kind of, what kind of leader do you want to be? Is a learning point for sure. You don't know that yet when somebody first says, here you go, here's your title, now go and do it. Yeah,
wonderful.
Also, there's a lot of learning. So I'm an out lesbian, and I live with my girlfriend, and we have a daughter. And I don't think I've realized how much of sort of like homophobia I had absorbed. So that constant unpacking of what the patriarchy and what colonial Britain, what have we absorbed really, that we need to constantly unpack ourselves and help other people unpack and be open and generous around. Yeah.
Goodness. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I guess looking forward, look backwards a little bit. We're looking forwards. What does the future hold for yourself for Yorkshire Dance, and what challenges might there be on the horizon?
Yeah, well, I think there's a massive challenge in this country that is called arts funding.
Yes, I can imagine.
For those of you not aware, we've had the same amount of core funding that we've had for the last 10 years. Real terms, that is a huge reduction.
Yes.
And what we're facing at the moment, certainly post-COVID and with the cost of living increases, we're gonna, our salaries bill just keeps increasing. So I think there's a challenge there about how much you can expand and increase. We've done fantastic things around partnership working. We've got a big commission with Sport England. We've got our first clinical commissioning piece of work. We've done loads of work around work with older people in communities, with the University of Leeds in partnership. So we've just been expanding and building those partnerships. And when these major multi-year funding projects come to an end, that poses real challenges, because that's people's jobs as well. So we're going through a planning process at the moment, which is both really exciting and really challenging, because it's asking you to really think, what's the real priority? What are you prepared to let go of? And of course, we don't want to let go of everything, because all of it is needed.
Yes.
At the same time, post-COVID, a real sense that what matters most around all of these things is care, and that we can only truly be responsive to the freelancers and the communities we work with in an inclusive way if we have the time to build trust and relationships. So those relationships are less transactional and more embedded. That means they take more time. So that means you can do less of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a huge challenge. Will our stakeholders and our funders and our people we work with understand if we do less and we do it in a more deep way? Yeah, and then I think there's now new models emerging of shared leadership, and we're working with a consultant called Inga around how, so the whole sector has a problem with race and ethnicity, and especially with disability. So there's very few disabled dancers leading organizations or making work. And there's also, certainly underrepresentation by Black people, people from South Asian, heritage. And so we're working on really diversifying the sector, then different ways of employment, staff structures, maybe, shared leadership. Those are the sorts of challenges that we're looking at. Because certainly at a certain age, when you come, like there's probably about 5 of us that have been employed for a very long time, and we're all white women of a certain age. So some of the things we're asking ourselves at the moment.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot on your agenda. So
my to-do list is very long.
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine. It sounds fascinating. Well, look, I thank you. Going to thank you so much for your time today, and it's been fascinating. And what I love about doing these interviews and podcasts is I meet so many different people from diverse businesses, diverse organizations, diverse backgrounds, and have got where they've got by totally different means. And it's just fascinating to see that diversity in that. And I guess the last question I was going to ask you, which is just a sort of an interesting one, is what sort of advice would you give to an 18-year-old you if you were starting out again?
Yeah, that's a nice question. We recently had we had 6 Kickstarters that we were working with. The government's the scheme to save some young people from becoming unemployed, and it was lovely to work really directly with all 6 of them, and the energy and the vitality that they brought. And I think what they needed and what I needed, it was just that sense of the understanding of how to even get started. And there's something around being specific, or having specificity. So understanding yourself and understanding what specifically you're interested in is, I think, a journey that an advice that I would give myself. I had no idea when I left my university degree where I should show up, and I think a lot of people have that. How do you even start unraveling the ball of wool that is the complicated thing that you find yourself in? And then the other thing is about just networks, isn't it? About people. So the 18-year-old self hadn't gone yet to the London Contemporary Dance School, and where I went that 1 year, I would say that without that 1 year in that place, I wouldn't have 3/4 of my business contacts. And I say that normally say they're arts contacts, really. So if you look across the whole dance sector, that 1 year, I know all the people, 3/4 of the people that I know are from going there for that 1 year. So in our business, I think it's very much about who you know rather than what you know, and who you can have those dialogues with, who you can, find those synergies with to develop your own thing. Because of course, in the art, you develop your own thing, don't you? You don't just get a job, work for an organization. You have to, a lot of the time, people set up their own stuff. You bring up, so yeah, I think it's people.
Brilliant. Well, Wieke, it's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much. It's been fascinating talking to you and learning more about you and Yorkshire Dance and the things that you're facing, the things that you're doing. And I'd love to come back in another 12 months time and just see where things are going for you and how things have gone.
I'd love to do that. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, thank you so much again, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.